That anxious knot in your stomach before a big meeting, the constant pressure to prove yourself, the feeling that you are not quite enough. This search for steady confidence defines so much of modern life, a quest that feels both urgent and endlessly out of reach. 2,000 years ago, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius offered a simple but profound truth. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. This video reveals a progressive Stoic practice, a step-by-step method grounded in that ancient wisdom, designed to build unshakable inner confidence over time. This is not about a quick motivational fix. It is a practical path weaving together foundational principles, daily mental exercises, and deep mindset shifts, each one building upon the last to create a resilience that no external circumstance can easily shake. By the end, you will understand how to cultivate a core of self-assurance that relies not on your achievements, but on your character. How can a philosophy from ancient Rome possibly hold the key to quieting the anxieties of today? Your frustration in that moment, the tightness in your chest when things do not go your way, often comes from a single, fundamental misunderstanding. We invest our energy and our sense of self in forces we can never truly command. The bedrock of Stoic confidence, the very first stone laid upon the path, is a clear-eyed understanding known as the Dichotomy of Control. The philosopher Epictetus, born into challenging circumstances, opened his famous manual with this unshakable truth. Some things are within our power while others are not. Within our power are our opinions, our pursuits, our desires, and our aversions, essentially the entire landscape of our own inner world. Everything else, from our reputation to our wealth to the actions of other people, is not within our power. This is not a suggestion. It is a practical sorting mechanism for your entire life. Think about preparing for a job interview. You have absolute command over your preparation. You can research the company, practice your answers, and choose your attitude. You can decide to be diligent and enthusiastic. These are your opinions and your efforts, and they belong to you. What you do not control is the final decision. You cannot command the hiring manager's mood, the strength of the other candidates, or the internal budget that might suddenly pause the position. Confusing these two realms by tying your self-worth to the outcome you cannot control is the source where anxiety and shaky confidence are created. So take that recent frustration you recalled, break it down. Which parts were truly your responsibility, your judgment, your action, and which parts were external events, other people's choices, or simple chance? This act of sorting is not passive. It is the first active exercise in building a confidence that the world cannot take from you. That sorting mechanism you just applied to your frustration is a powerful first step, but it remains a tool you use in the moment. True confidence grows from a deeper, more consistent source of self-awareness. This is where the classroom of the evening comes into play. After the day is done and the world grows quiet, the Stoics saw an invaluable opportunity for reflection. The Roman philosopher Seneca strongly recommended a nightly review, a quiet conversation with oneself at the end of each day. He described it as a gentle but honest examination, a process of holding your own actions up to the light with a calm and judicial mind. This is not about harsh self-criticism or replaying your mistakes with regret. It is about learning. Think of it like a craftsman looking over the day's work, noting where a cut was not quite straight or a joint could be stronger, not to punish the hand but to train the eye for tomorrow. You might ask yourself simple, direct questions. Where today did I act out of fear instead of courage? When did a passing comment stir frustration in me, and how did I choose to respond? Did my pursuits align with my deepest values, or was I chasing external validation? The goal is to acknowledge a misstep without letting it define you, and equally, to consciously recognize the small, quiet victories in virtue. Perhaps you practiced patience in a long line or chose kindness when it would have been easier to be curt. Celebrating these moments is vital, for they are the building blocks of your character. This daily practice builds a profound and steady confidence because it systematically replaces self-deception with honest self-knowledge. You are no longer hiding from your own challenges or ignoring your own strengths. You are coming to know yourself not as you wish you were, but as you truly are, with all the potential for growth that this knowledge contains. So as you consider this practice, bring to mind just one action from your own day-to-day. A single moment where your reaction felt automatic, perhaps a flash of irritation or a retreat into worry. If you had approached that same moment with this Stoic awareness, with that clear understanding of what was and was not within your power, how might your response have been different? That nightly reflection slowly clears the fog of the day, but the Stoics knew that true resilience is built before the day even begins. The morning offers a blank slate, a quiet space to set the tone for everything that follows. This is where we engage in a practice that might sound counterintuitive at first, the premeditation of future challenges. The Roman philosopher Seneca advised us to rehearse in our minds the potential difficulties of the day ahead, not to dwell in pessimism, but to strip away the element of surprise. He wrote that we should anticipate that certain things will cause us trouble, and by doing so, we can lessen their blow. Think of this not as expecting the worst, but as a mental fire drill. You do not conduct a fire drill because you are certain the building will burn down. You do it so that if the alarm ever sounds, your response is calm, practiced, and confident, not panicked and chaotic. This is the core of the Stoic exercise. You mentally walk through a potential daily stressor. Perhaps you have a difficult conversation scheduled. Instead of dreading it, you rehearse it. You visualize the other person being curt or dismissive. You feel that initial flash of frustration, and then you consciously decide on your response. You choose to listen, to respond with clarity rather than emotion, to focus on what you can control, your own words and actions. By facing this challenge in your mind first, you drain it of its power to shock you. When you encounter the real situation, it feels familiar. You have already walked this path. Your confidence comes not from a guarantee that everything will go smoothly, but from the quiet certainty that you are prepared to handle it if it does not. So bring to mind one common, recurring challenge in your own daily routine. It might be a hectic commute, a demanding task, or an interaction that often leaves you feeling unsettled. For just a moment, mentally rehearse it, see the situation unfold, and then see yourself meeting it with calm intention. This simple act of preparation builds a foundation of inner steadiness that turns potential anxiety into an opportunity for practiced virtue. There is a profound freedom in realizing how small your immediate concerns truly are. This brings us to one of the most powerful and expansive Stoic practices, an exercise Marcus Aurelius returned to again and again in his private writings. He called it taking the view from above. This is not an exercise in self-diminishment. It is a conscious shift in perspective, a mental journey to a vantage point so high that the noise of daily life fades into a quiet, manageable hum. The practice involves contemplating the sheer vastness of the cosmos, the countless stars, and the immense flow of time, and then locating your own tiny, fleeting existence within that grand tapestry. Picture your own city for a moment, not from the street but from orbit. See it as an intricate pattern of light and shadow, a small mark on the surface of a planet. Now pull back further. See the Earth itself, a solitary blue and white marble drifting in the immense quiet of space. From this distance, the entire story of human experience, all our achievements and setbacks, all our personal stories and concerns, are held on that one fragile sphere. Your current worry, that pressing problem that feels so all-consuming, where does it reside in this cosmic picture? This perspective does not make your life meaningless. It does the opposite. It liberates you by placing your challenges in their proper proportion. The criticism from a colleague, the minor setback in your plans, the sting of a perceived insult, these things lose their overwhelming weight when viewed against the backdrop of galaxies and centuries. This is the ultimate antidote to anxiety, because anxiety thrives in a closed, cramped mental space. It convinces you that this one thing is everything. The view from above shatters that illusion. It reminds you that you are a part of something vast and beautiful, and that your true power lies not in controlling every small event, but in choosing your response within the magnificent, fleeting moment you have been given. So take a breath and ask yourself, from this new, expanded vantage point, how does the weight of your current worry actually feel? Stoic confidence solidifies not by sidestepping hardship, but by walking directly into its heart. This ultimate step in the practice is the embrace of Amor Fati, a love of one's fate. This powerful phrase was later championed by the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, yet its spirit is pure Stoic wisdom. It means moving beyond mere acceptance of events to an active, heartfelt welcoming of them. Every event, especially the difficult and unexpected ones, becomes not a barrier to your progress but the very material for it. The Stoic sees a setback and asks not why this happened to me, but what this makes possible for me. History offers a profound example in the philosopher Musonius Rufus. When faced with exile, a situation that could challenge a person's spirit, he did not give in to discouragement. Instead, he reportedly treated it as an opportunity. He saw his new, isolated circumstances as a chance to teach, to write, and to deepen his practice of philosophy without the distractions of city life. He turned his experience into his classroom. This is the living essence of Amor Fati. It is the deliberate choice to will your life exactly as it unfolds. Epictetus, who knew immense personal challenge, gave us the perfect mantra for this mindset. Do not seek for events to happen as you wish, he advised. Wish for events to happen as they do happen, and your life will go well. This is the final liberation from frustration. You are no longer fighting reality. You are aligning with it, and in that alignment you find an unassailable strength. Now, bring to mind a single recent setback in your own life. It could be a project that did not go as hoped, a plan that was cancelled, a minor inconvenience that threw off your entire day. For a moment, resist the instinct to label it as purely bad. Instead, ask this transformative question: how could this specific event, this exact circumstance, be serving my growth? Perhaps the cancelled plan gave you the quiet evening you desperately needed. Maybe the project that did not succeed taught you a crucial lesson that will protect you from a far greater mistake later. By reframing this one event as a necessary, even welcome part of your path, you begin to weave the fabric of a truly confident life, a life that is not shaken by the winds of chance because it has learned to sail with them. Your emotional reaction to a critical comment or a sudden setback is not the first event in the chain. It is the second. The first is a lightning-fast, often unconscious judgment your mind makes in a fraction of a second. This is the hidden gateway where your inner confidence is either strengthened or gently challenged. Stoicism identifies this critical junction as the moment for the discipline of assent, the practice of creating a deliberate pause between an initial impression and your full endorsement of it. An impression is just a raw signal from the world, a piece of information. Your assent is your agreement to treat that information as truth, to let it shape your emotional state and your actions. The power lies in that tiny, breath-filled space between the two. Marcus Aurelius captured this perfectly when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. The strength he speaks of is born in that pause. Consider receiving thoughtful feedback on a project you poured your heart into. The initial impression might whisper, "This feels like a challenge. I might not be enough." That impression arrives with a certain weight, a shift in your breathing. The untrained mind quickly assents. It agrees with the impression, and a wave of frustration or defensiveness can follow. But the practiced Stoic inserts a moment of space. They notice the impression, they feel its emotional pull, but they do not automatically agree. They hold it up for examination. Is this truly a challenge, or is it simply perspective, perhaps even a helpful insight I had not considered? By withholding immediate assent, you transform the feedback from something personal into a collection of useful observations. You move from a reactive state to a responsive one. This is not about suppressing emotion. It is about choosing which interpretations you will grant the power to shape your reality. Think back to a recent moment where your first impression of a situation was strong and immediate. Perhaps you saw a brief message from a loved one and instantly sensed a shift in tone, or you heard a piece of casual conversation and immediately formed a quick view about someone. How often has that initial, gut-level judgment later proven to be incomplete or even entirely mistaken? That fleeting gap between the event and your full reaction is the quiet ground where your confidence is built, decision by conscious decision. Our modern world is engineered for ease, a constant stream of conveniences promising to smooth every possible rough edge from our day. Yet this very pursuit of seamless comfort can quietly weaken our inner resilience, leaving us more fragile when life inevitably presents its challenges. The Stoics offered a powerful antidote to this creeping softness, a practice known as voluntary discomfort. Thinkers like Seneca and Musonius Rufus were not advocates for a life of hardship. They were architects of inner strength, and they understood that confidence is built not when things are easy, but when we know we can handle difficulty. They advised periodically and deliberately choosing small, manageable forms of discomfort to prepare the spirit for future uncertainty. This is not about punishing yourself. It is a form of training, like an athlete lifting weights to prepare for a game. By voluntarily experiencing minor hardship, you prove to your own deepest self that you are capable of enduring it. Seneca would periodically sleep on a hard floor despite his wealth and wear simpler clothing. He wrote that by doing so, he was never truly at the mercy of fortune, because he had already tested his ability to live without her gifts. Musonius Rufus taught that practicing with little things, like choosing a plainer meal or enduring the cold for a short while, makes one brave in the face of greater trials. The goal is to break the unconscious fear of discomfort, to demonstrate through direct experience that you can not only survive it, but remain calm and composed within it. A simple, modern example is choosing to walk to the store for a small errand instead of driving. You feel the chill of the air or the warmth of the sun. You expend a little more time and effort. In that small act, you are actively choosing the slightly harder path. You are telling yourself, I do not need total comfort to be okay. I am stronger than this minor inconvenience. This repeated proof builds a deep, steady confidence that no external circumstance can easily shake. So this week, what one small, voluntary discomfort can you introduce into your own routine? It could be taking a cooler shower, turning off the entertainment for an hour of quiet, or carrying your own groceries an extra block. The specific act does not matter nearly as much as the conscious choice behind it. the quiet decision to become a little more resilient, one practiced step at a time. The most resilient confidence is not a shield you raise against the world, but a quiet space you cultivate within it. Marcus Aurelius gave this space a powerful name, the Inner Citadel. He envisioned it as a fortress deep inside your mind, a sanctuary of peace and reason that no external chaos, no criticism, no setback can ever truly breach. This is not a physical place, but the core of your character, governed solely by your own judgment and your commitment to virtue. The daily Stoic practices you have been exploring are the craftsmen who build and reinforce this fortress stone by stone. Each time you pause before accepting a troubling impression, you are strengthening the gates. Every evening review adds height to the walls. Every act of chosen discipline fortifies the foundations. The result is a confidence that becomes intrinsic, a self-assurance that relies not on praise or success, but on the unshakable knowledge of who you are at your core. When you feel challenged by a strong emotion or a difficult situation, you can access this place. Close your eyes for a moment and visualize it. See your own inner citadel, a structure of immense strength and profound calm. Nothing unwanted can enter unless you yourself lower the drawbridge and allow it in. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "People look for retreats in the country, by the sea, or in the hills." But this is altogether unphilosophical when you can at any moment retreat into your own mind. Nowhere is there a more peaceful and less crowded retreat. So as you contemplate this powerful metaphor, ask yourself, what virtues are the very stones that form the walls of your own inner citadel? Is it courage, integrity, patience, or compassion? Your answer reveals the unshakable material from which your truest confidence is built. Gratitude in the Stoic tradition is far more than a simple list of pleasant things. It is a profound reckoning with reality, a deliberate act of seeing the world as it is, filled with gifts we have done nothing to earn. This practice stands in stark contrast to the modern idea of positive thinking, which often asks us to ignore difficulty. Stoic gratitude does not look away from hardship, but instead chooses to deeply appreciate what remains, building a bedrock sense of adequacy that quiets the constant whisper for more. The philosopher Musonius Rufus framed this with powerful simplicity, teaching his students to be genuinely thankful for simple food and basic shelter. He was not celebrating deprivation, but highlighting the fundamental provisions that make life and the pursuit of virtue possible, provisions we so often overlook in our search for greater luxuries. This shift in perspective is where confidence quietly grows, when you recognize that your ability to see, to hear, to walk through a park on a quiet morning are all unearned favors from the world. Your focus moves from what you lack to the abundance you already possess. That craving for the next achievement, the next purchase, the next piece of validation begins to lose its power over you because you feel, in a tangible way, that you are already enough. So bring your attention to this moment. What are 3 things, however small, that you can look upon with this prosocial gratitude today? Not just things you like, but gifts you did not create. The warmth of a mug in your hands, the function of your lungs drawing breath, the presence of a person who offers even a moment of kindness. Acknowledging these quiet gifts builds a confidence rooted not in what you have acquired, but in the humble, unshakable recognition of your place within a generous whole. This topic often brings a natural discomfort, a desire to look away, yet the Stoics turned directly toward it, finding not a source of fear, but the ultimate fuel for a confident and meaningful life. They called this practice Memento Mori, a Latin phrase meaning remember you must die. Far from being a morbid fixation, this was a profound and life-affirming exercise in perspective. The philosopher Seneca wrote extensively on this, urging his readers to let this awareness guide their days, not paralyze them. he advised that we should balance life's account each day, recognizing that the one who has learned how to approach life's natural close has unlearned how to be a servant to fear. The core insight is simple. Our time is the one truly non-renewable resource we possess. Imagine an hourglass with a finite amount of sand. You cannot add more. You can only choose where to direct your attention as each grain falls. This vivid reminder of life's natural limit is a powerful tool for prioritization. It instantly clarifies what is essential and what is merely noise. That social anxiety about what others might think of you, the resentment over a minor slight, the hours spent worrying about a problem that may never materialize. When viewed through the lens of Memento Mori, these concerns begin to lose their grip. Why? Because they are revealed as distractions, as grains of sand you are letting fall without purpose. Remembering your own eventual transition builds a profound and steady confidence by stripping away the power of trivial fears. It grants you the courage to speak your truth, to pursue what you love, to mend a relationship because you understand at a deep level that you may not get another chance. This is not about a frantic rush to accomplish everything, but a calm urgency to live with virtue right now. So take a quiet moment and ask yourself this reflective question. If you knew for certain that this week was your last, what single worry, what particular anxiety would you let go of immediately? That very worry, the one that just came to mind, is likely something that Memento Mori can help you release, freeing your energy for what truly builds a life of purpose and unshakable inner peace. We do not have to build this resilient confidence alone, navigating every difficult choice in isolation. The Stoics understood the profound power of guidance, of looking to a figure who embodies the very virtues we seek to cultivate. This is the practice of contemplating the sage, an idealized person of perfect reason and moral excellence. While no human is flawless, by imagining such a figure, we create a compass for our own character. Epictetus, who taught the importance of choosing our influences wisely, pointed to this when he wrote, "You must choose whether to be loved by others and lose yourself, or to be a person of principle, following the example of those you admire." This is not about blind imitation, but about seeking a standard, a way to measure our own judgments and actions against a higher ideal. When you are unsure how to respond in a challenging moment, you can pause and ask a simple but transformative question. What would someone like Socrates do in this situation? How would a leader like Cato, known for his unwavering integrity, navigate this ethical dilemma? You might look to a modern exemplar, a mentor, a historical figure like Abraham Lincoln facing immense pressure with calm resolve, or a fictional character whose moral strength you respect. By stepping outside of your own immediate reactions and viewing the situation through their eyes, you gain clarity. The noisy emotions of the moment begin to settle, and the path of principle becomes more visible. This practice builds a quiet confidence in your decisions because you are no longer acting on impulse alone. You are aligning your choices with a wisdom greater than your fleeting feelings. So take a moment and consider this. Who is one person, real or imagined, whose judgment you would trust completely in a difficult situation, whose calm voice in your mind would help you find your own strength? That figure is a keyholder to the inner citadel, a guide who can help you walk through any gate with steady assurance. That frustrated email you are about to send feels justified, a necessary release of pressure. But the most confident actions are never born from that reactive spark. They emerge from a quiet space of deliberation, a conscious pause that transforms a raw impulse into a purposeful deed. This is the final piece of the Stoic triad, the discipline of action. It is the practice of inserting a deliberate breath between your initial feeling and your final, outward move, ensuring that what you do aligns with your deepest values, not your most fleeting emotions. Seneca offered a powerful insight into this process, noting that the greatest remedy for frustration is a moment of delay. He advised giving your initial impulse time to settle, for its intensity to soften, so that the fog of reaction can clear and reveal the path of reason. This pause is not inaction. It is the most potent form of action because it is chosen. Think of that moment when a sharp comment is on the tip of your tongue, or your finger is hovering over the send button on a message written in haste. In that suspended second, you are not a passenger in your own life. You are the pilot. You are asking a simple but profound question. Does this action serve my virtue? Does it express courage, fairness, or kindness, or is it merely an expression of my own irritation? By consistently choosing to act from principle rather than impulse, you build an unshakable trust in your own judgment. You begin to rely on the person you are when you are at your best, not the person you become when you are provoked. This trust is the bedrock of a quiet, steady confidence that knows its own strength because it has been tested and proven, decision by conscious decision. So bring to mind one specific area of your own daily life where a deliberate pause would most transform your outcomes. Is it in your conversations, your financial choices, or perhaps your use of time? Identifying that single point of application is where theory becomes practice and where reactive habits begin to give way to a life of intentional, confident purpose. That critical voice in your head is not a final verdict but a passing event. You are not your thoughts any more than you are the clouds that drift across the sky. This understanding is the heart of a modern practice perfectly aligned with ancient Stoic wisdom, known as cognitive distancing. It is the simple, powerful act of learning to label your thoughts as just that, thoughts, rather than accepting them as absolute, unchangeable truths. When a mental impression arises, like the whisper that you are not prepared enough or that a situation will surely go wrong, cognitive distancing creates a small but crucial space. You step back from the thought and observe it rather than being swept away by its current. The technique itself is elegantly simple. You prefix the troubling thought with the phrase, "I am having the thought that." For example, the thought "I am going to fail this presentation" becomes, "I am having the thought that I am going to fail this presentation." This tiny linguistic shift changes everything. It transforms a statement of fact which your whole being reacts to with worry into a recognized mental event, something you are currently experiencing. You are no longer fused with the thought, you are the one noticing it. This directly echoes the Stoic discipline of assent, where you pause before endorsing an initial impression. By labeling the thought, you are actively withholding your agreement. You are examining it rather than being consumed by it. This practice systematically reduces the volume and power of negative self-talk. The thought loses its emotional charge because you have stopped treating it as a command or a prediction. Over time, this builds a profound form of cognitive confidence, a trust in your own ability to navigate your inner world without being carried away by every fear or doubt that arises. So bring to mind one recurring anxious thought, a familiar phrase your mind returns to in moments of pressure. Now silently frame it with those words, "I am having the thought that." Feel the subtle but immediate shift in perspective, the space that opens up between you and the mental noise, a space where your true confidence can finally breathe. That critical inner voice thrives on a hidden assumption, the feeling that you are navigating this path entirely alone. This perceived isolation quietly chips away at your confidence, making every challenge feel like a personal test designed specifically for you. There is a profound Stoic remedy for this loneliness of spirit, a practice known as the universal view. It is a deliberate shift in perspective, where you pull back from your own individual story to see the vast, interconnected tapestry of human experience. At the heart of this practice is the Stoic concept of oikeiosis, the understanding that we are fundamentally wired for community and mutual care. It is the recognition that every person you meet shares the same basic human nature. They desire happiness, they seek to avoid discomfort, and they are all doing what they believe, in their own limited understanding, is the right thing to do. When someone acts in a way that causes you frustration, the universal view asks you to look deeper. The person who was curt with you in the morning meeting is likely not a character in a story aimed at you. They are almost certainly acting from a place of their own unseen pressures, their own private worries or disappointments. They are, in that moment, doing what makes sense to them, guided by their own mix of reason and emotion, just as you are when you have your own difficult days. Marcus Aurelius constantly returned to this truth in his private meditations. He wrote that when someone does you some wrong, you should consider at once what conception of good or evil they had in doing it. For when you see that, you will feel compassion instead of astonishment or anger. This is not about excusing poor behavior, but about understanding its source. By seeing the shared humanity in the other person, you disarm the situation of its personal sting. You realize you are not being uniquely singled out by circumstance. You are simply witnessing another human being, navigating the same fundamental challenges of existence that you face. This realization builds a quiet, resilient confidence because it connects you to something larger than your own isolated self. Think of a recent minor conflict, a moment of friction with another person. Now shift your perspective. See them not as an obstacle, but as another individual with their own history, their own concerns, and their own desire to be happy. How does that simple act of reframing change the weight of that interaction for you? Your own handwriting on a page can be the most honest conversation you will ever have. The Stoics did not keep diaries to simply record events. They engaged in a disciplined dialogue with their own minds, using the written word to untangle confusion, fortify their principles, and hold their actions to account. This practice transforms abstract philosophy into a living, breathing process of self-guidance. Think of it not as logging your day, but as consulting with your inner teacher. You pose a question and you wait for the answer that your deepest, most reasoned self provides. The most famous example in history is the private journal of Marcus Aurelius, a work we now call Meditations. He never intended it for publication. It was his personal training ground, a space where he reminded himself of Stoic truths, reflected on his own growth, and reinforced the person he wished to become. This act of writing builds a unique and steady confidence because it creates a physical record of your progress. You can look back at an entry from months ago and see how a challenge that once felt overwhelming was navigated with a new perspective, proving to yourself that you are capable of learning and adapting. The confidence comes from seeing the evidence of your own evolving judgment laid out before you. To begin, you do not need to write pages. Start with a single, focused prompt each evening. Ask yourself, what Stoic principle did I practice today? Perhaps you noticed an impression and paused before assenting to it. Or ask, where did I allow an external event to disturb my inner peace, and what would the view from above have shown me about its true importance? The power is in the consistent, gentle inquiry. So take a moment right now and write just one sentence in response to this question. What is one small thing within my power that I can focus on tomorrow? That single sentence is the first brick in a foundation of self-knowledge that no external opinion can ever shake. Courage in the Stoic sense is not a roaring fire, but a quiet flame that burns steadily even in the wind. It is the conscious choice to act with integrity despite the presence of fear, not because you feel no fear at all. This virtue is the natural extension of all the practices you have been cultivating, the moment your inner confidence is tested in the real world. It is built not in a single grand gesture, but progressively through countless small, daily decisions. Speaking up in a meeting when your voice wants to stay silent, setting a respectful boundary with someone who tests your patience, or simply trying a new path home when the familiar one feels safer. These are the raw materials of courage. Each small act is a vote for your own capability, a quiet deposit into the bank of your self-trust. When you consistently choose to act rightly in the face of discomfort, you build the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you can rely on yourself to do what is necessary, even under pressure. History offers a powerful model in the Roman statesman Cato the Younger, known for his unwavering defiance of corruption. He was not fearless, but his commitment to his principles was so absolute that he would act upon them regardless of the political or personal cost, demonstrating that true courage is aligned with unwavering integrity. The philosopher Epictetus, who understood hardship intimately, framed this virtue as a form of clear-sighted knowledge. He taught that courage is not a blind rush forward, but the knowledge of what must be endured. It is the understanding that some temporary pains, like the discomfort of honesty or the effort of starting anew, are worth facing for the sake of a life lived with purpose. So bring to mind one small, courageous action you have been quietly postponing. Perhaps it is a difficult conversation you need to initiate, a creative project you are afraid to begin, or a simple no you need to say to protect your time. What is the single, manageable step you could take today to move toward that action, proving to yourself that your integrity is stronger than your fear? Our world is a marketplace of noise, a constant stream of notifications, opinions, and demands that pull your attention outward. The Stoics understood that true confidence requires a retreat from this cacophony, not to escape the world, but to find the clarity needed to engage with it wisely. This is the profound practice of intentional silence, a deliberate withdrawal from both external chatter and the internal dialogue that so often echoes it. Seneca wrote passionately about the value of seeking solitude, not as loneliness, but as a state where you are free from the crowd and can be your own unbiased judge. He believed that to be everywhere is to be nowhere, and that we must periodically step back to hear our own thoughts. This practice builds an unshakable self-assurance because it creates a space where your own inner wisdom, your guiding reason, can finally speak without competition. When you step away from the voices telling you who to be or what to want, you begin to discover who you actually are. Practical steps can be wonderfully simple. It might be a daily walk without headphones, where the only sound is your own footsteps and the rhythm of your breath. It could be sitting for just 5 minutes in a quiet room, without a screen or a book, simply allowing the mental static to settle. In that quiet, you are not doing nothing. You are doing the most important thing. You are returning to your own center. How might just 10 minutes of such quiet in the morning reshape your reactions to the first challenge of your day? That constant pull between what you want and what you fear to lose is where so much inner unrest begins. Much of our shaky self-assurance can be traced directly to these misplaced longings and resistances, the endless reaching for things outside our influence, and the anxious pushing away of others we cannot control. The Stoics proposed a thoughtful realignment of this entire pattern, teaching that our only proper desire should be for our own virtue and moral excellence, and our only proper caution should be toward actions that compromise our character. Everything else, from wealth and reputation to comfort and even health, should be met with a calm understanding, not because they are negative, but because they are not truly ours to direct. This shift is the root of profound peace. When your deepest hope is to act with courage and integrity, and your deepest concern is to act without them, you have anchored your well-being to the one thing no outside event can ever take from you. Epictetus opens his Enchiridion with this very lesson. stating that freedom and tranquility are the immediate results of wisely managing our hopes and concerns. He explains that if you hope only for what is within your power, you will never be disappointed, and if you are only cautious toward what is truly dishonorable and within your ability to avoid, you will never face anything you truly oppose. Consider the difference between hoping for praise from your colleagues and hoping simply to do your best work. The first ties your sense of worth to their unpredictable opinions, leaving you uneasy and eager for approval. The second is a hope fully within your power, a quiet commitment to your own standard that builds a calm self-respect regardless of the result. This realignment does not make you passive, it makes you steady, because your central aim is always achievable through your own effort. So take a quiet moment and examine one specific hope you currently hold. Perhaps it is the hope for a particular promotion, for a relationship to unfold exactly as you imagine, or for everyone to appreciate you. Ask yourself, how much of my inner calm is currently tied to the fulfillment of this single hope? What would it feel like to gently loosen my hold on that specific external result and transfer that focus instead to the quality of my own effort and character in pursuing it? That quiet, steadying presence in your mind, the ideal of the sage, is more than a figure to admire from a distance. It is a living compass you can learn to consult in the midst of the day's smallest choices. This is the practice of continuous contemplation, turning the sage from a historical example into an active partner in your judgment. It is about holding that standard of wisdom in your awareness so consistently that it begins to color your automatic responses. Seneca captured this beautifully when he advised that we should choose someone to be our witness and live as if that great person were always watching. He was not suggesting a performance for an audience, but a way to anchor our own conduct to a higher principle. The question is not just what the sage would do, but also, and often more revealingly, what they would consciously refrain from doing. In a moment of temptation, when you feel the pull to speak harshly or to take an easier path, this second question becomes a powerful guide. What action would the sage deliberately avoid? This reframing highlights the way of restraint and integrity, which is so often the true path to confidence. You are not left guessing in the gray areas. You have a clear external measure for your own actions, a star to steer by that exists beyond the shifting winds of your own moods. This builds a profound and steady self-assurance because your decisions are no longer based solely on fleeting feelings. They are aligned with a timeless ideal of character, so bring to mind a current, small dilemma you are facing. It might be about how to spend a free hour, how to respond to a difficult message, or whether to commit to a new obligation. Now ask yourself this single, clarifying question. What one action in this situation would most align me with my own ideal of wisdom? The answer that surfaces, however quiet, is the next step on your path toward unshakable inner ground. The Stoic path was never meant to be a summit of flawless virtue, but a trail of constant upward progress. Ancient teachers had a special term for the individual walking this road, the prokopton, the one who is advancing. This figure is not a sage who never stumbles, but a dedicated student who gets up each time they fall, learning more from the misstep than from an easy stride. Your confidence does not come from an unbroken record of perfect judgment, but from the quiet assurance that you are always moving forward, even when the path wins or grows steep. Consider learning to play a musical instrument. You do not sit down for the first time and expect a beautiful sonata. Your confidence as a musician grows with each practice session, with every clumsy note that slowly finds its proper pitch. The goal is not a perfect performance, but the tangible proof of your own improving skill. The Roman philosopher Seneca, a towering figure of Stoicism, was remarkably open about his own shortcomings in his personal letters. He would confess to losing his temper, to feeling the pull of old habits, and to moments where his reasoned judgment was clouded by a flash of raw emotion. He did not hide these failings, he studied them. He understood that acknowledging a mistake without falling into despair is the very engine of growth. This is the heart of the Prokopton. Each time you notice a reactive thought and consciously choose not to follow it, you have made progress. Each evening you review your day with gentle honesty, you have advanced. These small, incremental shifts are the true measure of your journey. So take a quiet moment to look back over your recent days. Where have you made even a single, small step of progress in your own Stoic practice? Perhaps you took one deliberate breath before responding to a provocation, or you recognized a desire for external validation and gently let it go. That small victory, however minor it seems, is the undeniable proof that you are on the path, building a confidence that deepens with every single step you take. True confidence finds its voice not in what we take, but in what we give. The final piece of the Stoic framework, the discipline of action, carries an essential directive to act for the common good of the human community. This principle moves the focus from a narrow obsession with the self to a wider, more purposeful engagement with the world. When you are genuinely focused on how you can be of service, the anxious chatter about your own adequacy naturally quiets down, replaced by the quiet certainty of purposeful action. Think of a time you saw a colleague facing a challenging workload. The confident action is not to wait for acknowledgement or a promised favor, but to simply step in and ask, "How can I help?" Your motive is clear, rooted in the shared goal of the team's success. You are not helping to be seen as the hero. You are helping because it is the right and constructive thing to do. In that moment, your self-consciousness dissolves into the practical needs of the situation. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of this higher duty, writing in his private meditations, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee." Your personal confidence is inextricably linked to your contribution to the whole. When you see your actions as part of a larger, interconnected system, your sense of purpose expands, and with it a deep, unshakable assurance that your life matters. So take a quiet moment and ask yourself this simple question: what is one small, concrete way I can contribute to my family, my workplace, or my local community today? It does not need to be a grand gesture. It could be an act of patience with a loved one, a piece of thoughtful work completed well, or a moment of genuine attention given to someone who needs it. This single, purposeful act is where philosophy becomes practice and where your confidence roots itself in service. The obstacle is the way. This simple Stoic maxim holds a radical secret to building confidence. Setbacks and opposition are not roadblocks on your path. They are the path itself. They are the raw material through which an unshakable inner assurance is forged. Every delay, every moment of friction, every unexpected no presents a specific invitation to practice a virtue you wish to strengthen. A frustrating delay becomes your training ground for patience. A lack of resources sparks a creative solution, building your ingenuity. Direct opposition offers a clear chance to exercise courage without aggression. Consider the historical challenge faced by Marcus Aurelius, who guided the Roman Empire through years of a widespread health crisis. He did not see this immense difficulty as a reason to abandon his duties or his principles. Instead, he wrote in his private thoughts that the mind adapts and converts to its own purposes the very obstacle to our acting. He viewed the situation itself as the material for his own leadership, a chance to practice steadfastness, compassion, and clear-headed reason on a grand scale. This is the alchemy of Stoic confidence, turning the lead of hardship into the gold of character. So bring to mind one current obstacle in your own life, a recurring frustration or a recent setback. Now reframe it not as a problem to be removed, but as a personal training ground. Ask yourself, which single virtue is this situation asking me to practice right now? Is it perseverance, humility, or perhaps creative thinking? By seeing your obstacle as your teacher, you transform it from a source of anxiety into the very fuel for your growth. Every confident action you will ever take unfolds in a single, fleeting point in time. The past is a collection of memories you can no longer change, and the future is a landscape of possibilities you cannot yet command. Your power, your reason, and your will operate exclusively in the present moment. This is where your confidence is built, decision by decision, or quietly drained away by a wandering mind. The Stoics understood this with profound clarity. Epictetus constantly directed his students back to this truth, reminding them that the only thing that is truly our own is our ability to use our impressions rightly in the present. When your mind is lost in regret over a past conversation or tangled in anxiety about a future outcome, you are abandoning the only ground you can actually stand on. You are trying to build a house on a phantom foundation, and the resulting instability feels like a profound lack of confidence. Worrying about tomorrow's meeting while washing the dishes tonight does nothing to prepare you for the meeting, but it completely robs you of the simple peace available in the warm water and the clean plate. The practice, then, is to consciously return your attention to the task immediately before you. This is not a call to abandon planning, but to do your planning fully when it is time to plan, and then to let it go, returning your focus to the present action. Choose one simple, mundane activity you do today, something you normally do on autopilot. It could be drinking your morning coffee, walking to your car, or typing an email. For the entire duration of that one activity, commit to being fully there. Feel the warmth of the mug in your hands, notice the rich aroma, taste each sip without the distraction of a screen or a racing thought. When you walk, feel the rhythm of your steps and the air on your skin. This complete engagement with a single point in time is a direct training ground for confidence. It proves to you that you can, in fact, command your own attention. You are no longer at the mercy of every mental distraction. To feel this shift right now, simply pause and bring your awareness to your immediate environment. Without judgment, just notice 3 sensory details: the weight of your body in your chair, the quality of the light in the room, a single sound that reaches your ears. In this simple act of noticing, you have just anchored yourself in the only place where your true power resides. That steady calm you have been cultivating now finds its ultimate expression in the practice of equanimity. This is the art of meeting life with an even mind, a balanced and steady disposition that remains unshaken by the shifting winds of external events. Equanimity is not a cold numbness or an indifference to life. It is a profound responsiveness born from the deep-seated understanding that our true well-being is never determined by things outside of our command. It is the difference between being the turbulent surface of the ocean, tossed by every wave and gust of wind, and being the deep, quiet water beneath, which remains undisturbed regardless of the weather above. Your daily Stoic practices are the currents that maintain this deep calm, reinforcing the knowledge that while you cannot control the storm, you can always choose the depth from which you respond. Seneca beautifully captured this ideal when he wrote of the importance of achieving a constant mind, one that stands firm and sees challenges coming without being overwhelmed by their arrival. This evenness is the very foundation of a confidence that does not waver, because it is rooted in the stability of your own character, not the uncertainty of circumstance. Bring to mind a recent event that triggered a strong emotional wave in you, perhaps a sudden change of plans or a piece of unexpected news. In that moment, the initial impression was powerful. Now consider how a response grounded in equanimity might have looked. It would not have been a lack of feeling, but a feeling fully acknowledged and then met with a calm, reasoned choice. Instead of a reactive surge of frustration, there might have been a quiet breath, a recognition of the new reality, and a deliberate decision about the next right action. This is the quiet power of an even mind, turning potential turmoil into a moment of chosen strength. The most suffocating weight we carry is not our own, but the imagined judgments of everyone else. A deep well of insecurity is fed by this addiction to external opinion, a constant hunger for approval that leaves you perpetually off balance. Stoicism offers a radical and liberating practice for this very challenge, the deliberate act of letting go of your attachment to what others think. This begins with a clear internalization of a simple fact: the opinions of other people reside squarely in the category of things outside your control. More than that, their judgments are almost always a reflection of their own personal values, fears, and past experiences, not an objective assessment of your worth. When someone comments on your creative work, they are often revealing their own aesthetic preferences or their comfort with familiar patterns. When a colleague questions your method, they are frequently projecting their own style of working onto yours. Understanding this transforms their opinion from a verdict on your soul into a simple data point about their own perspective. This builds an unshakable confidence because it makes your own reasoned self-assessment the only metric that truly matters. Consider the common anxiety of public speaking. That knot in your stomach is rarely about forgetting your words. It is about the fear of being judged by the faces in the crowd. But what if you walked onto that stage having already accepted that you cannot control the thoughts of a single person in that room? Your entire focus can then shift to what you do control, delivering your message with clarity and conviction, acting with the integrity of your preparation. The outcome, whether applause or silence, becomes secondary to the knowledge that you showed up fully and spoke your truth. The philosopher Epictetus, who was no stranger to being misunderstood, gave practical advice for this very situation. He said that if someone calls you a donkey, you do not need to be offended or to convince them otherwise. You simply need to know you are not one. Their opinion is their own to manage. Your power lies in your own unshakable self-knowledge, so take a quiet moment for a truly liberating reflection, whose single opinion, if you could truly stop caring about its weight, would free you the most. Visualize the specific person and feel the space that would open up in your mind without the constant pressure of their judgment. That spaciousness is the very ground of your growing confidence. Your current worry is a single sentence in the story of your entire life. The Stoics practiced a powerful mental shift called taking the long view, where you consciously zoom out from the immediate chapter of difficulty to see your existence as a complete narrative, from its beginning to its natural close. This is not about escaping the present, but about placing it within its proper context. From this elevated vantage point, the setback that feels all-consuming today transforms into a brief passage, a few pages in a long and complex book. This perspective builds a profound and steady confidence because it proves to you that you are capable of navigating the entire arc of your story with purpose, not just surviving its most challenging moments. Marcus Aurelius frequently returned to this theme, reflecting on the fleeting nature of a human life when measured against the vastness of time. He reminded himself that soon you will have forgotten all things, and soon all things will have forgotten you, a stark but liberating reminder that our struggles, like our triumphs, are temporary. To feel the power of this, bring to mind the current challenge that weighs most heavily on you. Now, imagine yourself far in the future, perhaps at the end of a long and meaningful life, recounting the story of this very difficulty. How would you describe it? What lesson would you highlight as the gift it ultimately brought? The emotional charge of the moment softens when you become the narrator of your own past. Now take this one step further and ask a truly transformative question. If you could sit down with the person you will become at 80 years old, a version of you filled with the hard-won wisdom of a lifetime, what single piece of advice would that older self offer about your current biggest concern? The answer that arises from that quiet space is not a complex strategy, but likely a gentle reminder of what truly matters, a nudge toward patience, courage, or acceptance. Listening to that future voice within you builds an unshakable confidence, for it connects your present actions to the person you are destined to become. We are what we repeatedly do, and excellence is therefore not an act but a habit. This powerful idea, articulated by Aristotle, was wholeheartedly embraced by the Stoics who followed him. They understood that building a confident character is less about monumental, single decisions and far more about the small, daily choices that, over time, become your automatic way of being. You do not become a person of integrity in one moment of truth. You become that person through thousands of tiny moments of honesty, until telling the truth becomes as natural as breathing. Virtue is a kind of skill, a craft of living that you hone through repetition. Think of it like strengthening a muscle. You would not expect to lift a heavy weight without first spending weeks and months in consistent training, gradually increasing the load. Your character operates on the same principle. Each time you choose patience in a long line instead of irritation, you are doing a single repetition for your patience muscle. Each time you speak with kindness when you feel like being sharp, you are strengthening your capacity for compassion. The goal is to make these virtuous responses so ingrained that they become your default setting, requiring less and less conscious effort. This is where confidence becomes truly automatic. You no longer have to talk yourself into being courageous. You simply act courageously because that is who you are at a fundamental level. The philosopher Epictetus, a former student of Musonius Rufus, drove this point home with characteristic clarity. He said, "If you wish to be a good person, convince yourself that you ought to practice being one every single day." The key word is practice. It is the daily, deliberate effort that rewires your instincts. So for the next 24 hours, choose just one virtue to consciously practice in small, manageable ways. Perhaps it is patience. Today, whenever you feel that familiar pull of frustration in traffic or in a slow-moving queue, see it not as an annoyance, but as an invitation to do one more repetition. Maybe your chosen virtue is honesty, not in large confessions, but in the small, quiet moments where it would be easier to exaggerate or omit. By focusing on this one area for a single day, you are not just performing an action, you are actively sculpting the person you are becoming, making excellence an automatic and unshakable part of your character. Your own practice deepens when you share the path with fellow travelers. The Stoic journey, for all its emphasis on inner strength, was never meant to be a lonely one. Ancient schools of philosophy were vibrant communities of learning, where students gathered to study texts, exchange ideas, and support one another's growth under the guidance of a teacher. These were not just classrooms, but living workshops where principles were tested against the friction of daily life. When you connect with a community today, whether through a local discussion group, an online forum, or even a thoughtful podcast, you gain something invaluable that solitary reading cannot provide. You witness how another person applies the very same wisdom to a completely different challenge, and suddenly your own understanding expands. You see that your struggles with patience or courage are not unique failings, but part of a shared human experience. This realization alone builds a quiet confidence, dissolving the isolation that so often magnifies our personal difficulties. Finding such a fellowship is more accessible than ever. You might join a virtual reading group exploring the works of Seneca, or simply follow a social media account that shares daily Stoic reflections and prompts thoughtful conversation in the comments. The goal is not to find a group that simply agrees with you, but one that respectfully challenges your interpretations and offers diverse perspectives on how to live these ancient truths. Think for a moment of one resource, just one, that could serve as your next guide. It could be a specific book waiting on your shelf, a podcast episode you have been meaning to hear, or even a single person in your life whose judgment you trust. Making that small connection is the next step in transforming private study into a living, breathing practice, reinforcing your confidence with the collective wisdom of a timeless fellowship. These practices are not a checklist to complete, but a single, integrated system. The thread of understanding what you can influence strengthens your nightly reflection, which in turn prepares you for the morning's mental rehearsals. The perspective gained from stepping back makes it easier to embrace your path, and that very acceptance builds the resilience you need for chosen challenges. Each strand supports and reinforces the others, creating a compound effect on your inner confidence that grows steadily over time. Think of it as braiding a strong rope. A single thread is easily snapped, but when you weave the discipline of your thoughts with the courage of your actions and the wisdom of your perspective, you create something that can hold immense weight. This is the progressive nature of the path, a lifelong journey of refinement where each day offers a chance to tighten the weave just a little more. Your confidence does not arrive in a single moment of triumph, but accumulates quietly in the background through this consistent, interlocking practice. As you reflect on this woven whole, consider which two strands would most powerfully combine to strengthen your own life right now. Perhaps it is the clear-eyed sorting of what you can influence paired with the quiet grounding of appreciation, or maybe the deliberate pause of stepping back braided with the purposeful action of contributing to others. Identifying that specific combination is your next step in crafting a confidence that is truly your own. Steady inner confidence is not a gift you are born with, but a craft you build with your own hands day by day. It is the quiet result of returning to these principles again and again, using the friction of daily life as your whetstone to sharpen character. This is not about transforming into someone new, but about uncovering the unshakable person you have always been beneath the noise of fear and desire. The Roman philosopher Seneca, in one of his most enduring letters, captured the ultimate reward of this lifelong practice. He wrote that the person who has trusted in their own resources, in their own capacity for virtue, is freed from the restless chase for external validation. True peace, he reminds us, comes from this inner trust, from knowing that you possess within you everything required to meet whatever life may bring. This journey begins not with a grand resolution, but with a single, manageable step. Choose just one practice from our time together. Perhaps it is the nightly review, the morning premeditation, or simply the conscious pause before you speak. Commit to that one practice for the next 7 days. Observe the subtle shifts in your reactions, the small moments of newfound steadiness. And as you take this first step, we would be honored to hear about your choice. Share in the comments which single practice you will begin with, joining a growing community of fellow travelers, each of us supporting one another on the path toward a confidence that endures.